Hey friends, it is Jenna, what is up, and welcome back to the Board Game Garden, and welcome to the first monthly wrap-up of 2025. So I'm going to be doing, just like I did last year, monthly wrap-ups at the end or at the beginning of every single month of the month prior. And basically I'm going to go into my stats, my board game stats, which one of my goals for this year is to keep track on BG stats for the entire year, all of the games that I have played. So far I have done pretty well. And then I'll go into the herb garden, which is highlighting a few kind of smaller card games, party games, stuff like that. And then we'll go into my top 10 games of the month. So yeah, I'm super excited to get into the first one of 2025. So if you guys are interested, just keep on watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Also, hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Comment down below any games that you've been enjoying recently, any games that you played for the first time in January that you particularly enjoyed. And yeah, let's get into this monthly wrap up, shall we? All right, so quickly before we get into my board game stats, I do want to give a quick shout out to a game and some new expansions coming out for that game on Kickstarter. Actually today, when this video goes live, there will be a campaign. I will link it down below. But if you guys do not know, my dog Penny is in this game, and the game that I'm talking about is Bark Avenue. This is published by Paradise Games, which is Mackenzie and Jonathan. They are some friends, and they published this, I believe, in 2023 is when it officially came out, and I love this game. It is a pick up and deliver game where you are a dog walker in the city of New York, and you're trying to make the most money and become the best dog walker in town or in the city. So you're going out and picking up dogs, walking them around, getting them to do their favorite things, and then dropping them back off at their home. And it is such a fun game. And they are actually coming out with a Kickstarter, which is going on right now. Like I said, I will link down below the Kickstarter campaign for this. But they have two new expansions coming out for Bark Avenue. The first one is one that I have tried out. This is the Bark Avenue Kings and Queens expansion. Kings and Queens is an expansion that adds this burrow board on the side that gives players a little bit more player interaction, which I think is absolutely amazing. It adds in a little bit more complexity and some more decisions that you can make throughout the game, and also that player interaction, which I really enjoyed. Basically, in the game, whenever you successfully drop off a dog, you get to place one of your stars, your review stars, onto one of these different kind of objectives that you're going for. It could be walking your first dog, or it could be walking or like giving a dog a perfect walk, which means that you get them every single one of their like favorite things and check all of those things off the list. There's a few other like different objectives and stuff, but every time you do that, you take a star off of your board, which unlocks something for you, but then also you get to place that star onto the side. And the additional thing with this expansion is that whenever you do that, you get to perform some sort of action on the burrow board of your choice. So there's a bunch of different places that you can go, and based off of your review star, whatever number review star it is, so if it's your 3rd review star or if it's your 5th review star, you are going to be able to do some sort of action in or on the burrow board. So there's things like Doggy Day Camp, which allows you to discard some dogs from the current market and gain tips based off of some different things on those dog cards. There's also shopping, which allows you, based off of your star icons, get you some different rewards. There's also like investing and advertising and different things, and you can do a different one of those things every time that you place one of those stars. So super fun. It adds in some different like asymmetric player powers. It adds in some double dog cards that take up 2 spots, but you are walking them at the same time and kind of bringing them back at the same time to the same house, which is really nice. Super fun. It adds some different things to it, and I think it adds a really great, like I said, additional kind of decisions to the game. It adds a little bit more player interaction, which is great as well, and I'm really excited to play this one more. So that is the Kings and Queens expansion, which is available on Kickstarter right now, and they also have another expansion called Concrete Jungle, which is adding other animals into the game. So there's going to be cats and different, obviously legal animals that you can have in the state of New York. But there's going to be, like I said, cats and iguanas and hamsters and maybe like birds and stuff. Who knows what kind of animals will be in that expansion, but I'm super, super excited for that. So yeah, huge shout out Mackenzie and Jonathan of Paradise Games. Definitely go and check out this Kickstarter campaign. And if you're interested, definitely back it over there and support them. They're wonderful humans, and this is a really, really fun game. So yeah, wanted to quickly give a shout out to Bark Avenue and the new expansions. Now moving into all of my board game stats. So like I said, I always do use the Board Game Stats app. This is what the app looks like. I definitely recommend. I actually got this app, and then just this year I additionally purchased the challenges on this app where you can actually set up a bunch of different challenges, and I have a few of them in here. I'm actually doing like each month for the solo focus mechanism, the board game garden thing that I have going on each month. I have a challenge for each of those, and then additionally I have like an alphabet one, and I think I have a 10 by 10 that I probably will not complete, but it's fun, you know? All right, so getting into my board game stats for January of 2025, starting off with the number of total plays, and that was 53 plays, which is actually really good. I got to a pretty low number in the last few months of last year, but we're getting back up there, which makes me feel good. And I really did play a lot of awesome games this month, and I had a lot of really fun like board game get-togethers and stuff this month. So 53 plays, and that is of 51 different games. So that tells you a lot that I played a lot of different games, and I didn't really play many games more than once. So 51 different games, 33 of those games were new to me, which is awesome. And then I had a total of, I think it was like 31 plays on BGA. I just counted them and I totally forgot, but it's about 31 plays on BGA, which is actually a lot, and I've been playing a lot of BGA. If you guys are not already friends with me over on BGA, definitely go and add me. I think I'm just Jenna Beasley over there on BGA. I have been obsessed with playing games over there, and it's a lot of fun, and I always have a good time playing games with a bunch of different people. So yes, those were my board game stats for the month of January. Pretty good. But let's move on to the herb garden. All right, so moving into the herb garden, we have 3 different games that I wanted to quickly chat about. The first one is going to be a game that I don't actually physically have, and I literally just played it at the end of January at Level Up, and this is a game called Link City. This game is so much fun. I was introduced to it by Jeff from the Dragon's Tomb. Shout out to Jeff, because this was such a surprise to me. We sat down and we were just like, hey, let's play a party game. Jeff brought out Link City and said it was so much fun, and I was not expecting it to be as fun as it actually was. But basically you are trying to link together different tiles that are different parts of the city, and basically there's going to be one active player that has a few different tiles that they are going to be placing in some different spots on this like growing board of tiles. Everyone is going to kind of place out, all of the other players are going to place out these little pylons on specific spots, and then the player behind a screen is going to have to connect the different kind of areas or places that they have on these tiles with the colored pylons. So for example, players might put a blue pylon beside a board game cafe, and behind the active player's screen, they might decide that the ice cream shop or the ramen shop might be good as a like store beside the board game cafe, because you know we need some snacks when we're playing board games at the board game cafe, so I think it'd be good to have a ramen shop or an ice cream shop beside the board game cafe. So the person will connect the ramen shop or ice cream shop to the blue pylon, but those are secret, so that when they take the kind of shield away, the active players will then have to try to figure out what tiles the active player placed in what spot, which pylon colored spot, and it was just so much fun trying to like think the way that the active player would be thinking and why they would place something beside this specific thing, and just so funny and such a good time. So really enjoyed Link City. I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't already. Another game that I wanted to chat about that is a very fun just dice chucking game. It's super fun. I always like this type of game, but the next game that I wanted to chat about is Lure. So this is from Allplay, and it is one of their like super quick teach in 1 minute games. It plays 2 to 5 players in about 15 minutes, and basically you're just trying to catch fish. So every player has a screen and they have a bunch of dice behind their screens, and then everyone starts with 1 lure, which are just these little tiles that are going to give you additional things when you are going to fish. So there's going to be some fish cards in the middle, and those fish cards are going to need you to roll specific numbers or roll specific sums of numbers in order to successfully catch them. And what players are going to do is simultaneously they're going to pick a certain amount of their dice from behind their screen. They're going to have, I think, 5 or 6 d6s, and then you also have a d12 and a d20. But the d12 and d20, if you do use them, you're not able to use them on the next round, so you kind of skip around and then you get it back. But the d6s you always get back. So you are going to decide which dice you want to use. You're going to put them into your hand, and then everyone at the same time will flip over their hand of dice, and then whoever has decided to use the least amount of dice will go first. They're going to roll all their dice, and they're going to have first kind of pick and first possibility of catching those fish because they have chosen less dice in their hand. And then the more dice you choose to use, the later you're going to catch those fish. So you might actually miss out on catching fish if you use more dice than less, because the people that used less dice than you might actually catch them before you do. So yes, very fun game, super quick, super easy to teach, and just a fun dice chucking. There's not a lot of strategy when it comes to, the dice you use and all those things, but it was super fun. And then moving on to the last game that I wanted to chat about here on the Herb Garden, or in the Herb Garden. This is a fun card game that I actually received. This was from Ludonaut, so a huge shout out to Ludonaut. But this is a game called Arctic, and this is a card game that I think is really unique and cool in the way that you're playing it. It's going to be a little bit hard to explain, but basically each player is building up a pile of cards that is then going to score based off of the order of that pile of cards at the end of the game. And you're going to be doing this by playing 1 card into your pile, and then that is going to determine the amount of cards that you're going to be able to play on your next turn, and also it's going to determine how many cards you get to pick up. And the thing is that you only have a certain amount of cards that you can hold in your hand, so you are trying to figure out the best kind of cards to play at what time in order to avoid getting cards put into your penalty pile. Because if you ever have to pick up more cards than you can hold, the excess are going to be going into your penalty pile. And then if you ever have to play more cards than you have in your hand, again, you're going to have to put cards into your penalty pile. So it's this really cool puzzle of that. And then additionally, based off of the cards that you're putting into your pile, you're going to be scoring for the more of the same animal that you have in a row. So if I can manage to pile, 5 or 6 foxes in a row, that's going to get me more victory points. And you're going to be scoring at the end of the game your biggest group of all of these different animals, and then also how many of the different animals that you can get into your pile. And then also additionally, each animal that you play into the pile is going to get you a player power that you can use until another player plays that animal onto their pile, and then they take that player's or that animal's kind of ability from you. So I think it's this very cool, unique game. There's additionally this the card that you play determines a little token that moves up or down of these different animals. And if you can get an animal token all the way to the right, they're going to score more at the end of the game, rather than if you get them all the way to the left, they're going to score less. And each player has their own secret animal that they're trying to get to the top, because each person's going to get victory points based off of where that token is at the end of the game. There's just a lot of fun little things going on, and it's a very simple game of just playing a card or a few cards on your turn, and then the top card is going to then determine the cards that you pick up and the cards that you play on your next turn. It's very cool, and I definitely recommend it. If you enjoy just like fun little multi-use card games, I definitely recommend checking this out. The art is absolutely beautiful, and I think it is a really, really cool game. So that is Arctic. All right, so that is everything for the Herb Garden. I have yapped a little bit too long, so we're gonna get through all of these other games pretty quickly. It's kind of funny because I have my top 10 games in the month, and I literally only have 3 of them. So it shows you guys that there are so many amazing games out there that I do not own, sadly, and I've gotten to this point in my like board gaming life where I'm like, do I need all of the games? Probably not. Do I want them? Yes. But the really nice thing is that if you get a good, consistent board gaming group, if someone in your board gaming group has that game, I feel better not having it in my collection because, you know, I could always just ask to play it with them and then we could play it then. So yes. 7 of these games I do not have, sadly, but 3 of them I do, and we are going to get into this top 10 right now. All right, so starting out with number 10, this is a game that I actually do not have, but I had the opportunity to play it at Level Up again. It was the first day of Level Up, so it was January 31st, so the last day of January, and the game that I'm talking about is Everdell Silverfrost. So actually this one, no, I played this one the day before Level Up started. So this one I played on February 30th, or not February 30th, January 30th. But this is a game that is not actually out yet. I don't think it's out yet. I think the like campaign for it just recently finished up, but Everdell Silverfrost is the 3rd Everdell. We had the original Everdell, all the expansions, and then there was also Everdell Farshore, and now there is Everdell Silverfrost. So this one was really fun. I will say right now that I'm not like the hugest fan of Everdell. I've had Everdell since like the starting of my collection. You guys can see, I believe it's over here. It is a fun game. I enjoy it, but I've definitely played it enough that it's just kind of been one of those games that I don't get to the table as often anymore just because I have played it so many times. But I really did enjoy Everdell Silverfrost. It adds some really cool things with like snow, which the snow was pretty punishing, I will say that. Basically, you're going to get snow onto some of your cards, and you are not able to use your cards until, or the cards that have the snow on them, until you get the snow off by using fire. Fire's a little bit hard to get, and I did not do amazing in that game, but I had a lot of fun with it. There's additionally these like spots on the mountain that you can go with your workers, which I think is really cool, and they give you really strong powers that make you feel really strong and powerful, which is cool. And then additionally, you also have these little chimney tokens, which in the like base game of Everdell, you had the little like, I forget what they were, but they're like the little doors that you placed onto the corner of a card if you played the critter that was connected to the building. But in this one, you actually use these little chimney tokens, and it's a little bit different where you can play down the building, and then it just tells you what color card you can then use by placing a chimney token onto that card, as long as it is the correct like icon for that card. So it could be like a purple card, a red card, a blue card, so on and so forth. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Obviously not as much as all of the other games on this list, but Everdell Silverfrost was super fun, and I'm happy that I got a chance to play it. The next game that I wanted to talk about in my number 9 is actually another game that is like the 3rd in a series of different games, and the game that I'm talking about is Finspan. Oh, Finspan. Finspan was the talk of the town when it first came out, and it's just so funny to me. Just people just bickering about these new games coming out in this like Wingspan, Wormspan, Finspan series, which there are so many other series that do this, but people just found problems with the Span universe. I don't know why. It's so funny to me. But anyways, I played Finspan and I really enjoyed it. The only thing is that I do not like fish. I have a huge fear of the ocean, and open water and fish gross me out. So it is definitely my least favorite of the three just because of that. I don't love the theme. I love the dragon theme of Wormspan. I love the bird theme of Wingspan. And then also Finspan is the most simple of the three, which I prefer more of a complex game. But in this one, you are going up and down, which I think is really cool. And then also with this one is a little bit different is the fact that you don't have to place things in order. So you don't have to place things from left to right, like in Wingspan and Wormspan. You are actually able to like place things in different depths and stuff, which actually most of them have specific depths that they have to be played in, which I think is cool. And then based off of where you place fish, when you take your scuba diver and go down, you are going to get additional things based off of where you've placed your fish, which I think is cool. And then also you are going to have to utilize the cards in your hand in order to pay for different cards. So payments for cards are going to be discarding other cards, which I think is not something that was a thing in Wormspan and Wingspan. So that was cool. And then also you are laying eggs onto different fish, and then you are hatching those eggs into like baby fish, and then you're moving those fish. One of the columns actually gives you like fish hatching abilities and then also fish movement abilities, and you're going to be moving those fish into groups of 3, and then that'll create a school of fish, and then those will get you more victory points at the end of the game. So yeah, it's like some small changes to the game and also some pretty big changes with going up and down and being able to play fish cards anywhere that you would like. And then also you do have to like match up the different columns with the patterns on the side of the card. And I think it's a really good implementation of the game and a really cute change to the game as well. So yes, that is my number 9, Fishspan, or Finspan, not Fishspan. All right, so moving on to the next game. This is actually one that I do physically have, and that game is Intarsia or Intarsia. I'm not 100% sure how to say it, but having it this way is making me a little bit scared because if you see in the inside of this box, you know that it has very nice organization, but I don't think the organization is going to hold up if you have it this way. But anyways, I was so excited for this game, and I still really enjoyed it. It is my number 8, so I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. This is a game by Michael Kiesling. He is the designer of all the Azul games. Also, I love a game called Miyabi, which is one that is designed by him as well. And there was just something about the aesthetic of this game and the fact that you are building out this floor of a beautiful cafe. I just think it is absolutely stunning. And the game itself, like once you're like starting to play it and building out those tiles, is so freaking beautiful, and I can't get over it. I think this is one of the like prettiest games that I've played and just like most aesthetically pleasing games. I love the colors that they chose for all the different tiles. My only worry with this game is that each play is not going to really change. So I've only played this once, I will say that, but I just have the feeling after finishing that play that my next play of this wouldn't be too different. But I was actually thinking about that, and thinking about it, if you think about your different plays of, let's say, the base game of Azul or any of the Azul games, your games aren't really vastly different. You're doing the same thing every single game. I think it's just that kind of satisfying puzzle of trying to do as good as you possibly can, but still doing the same puzzle, if that makes sense. So I think I'm just in my head thinking about it a little bit too much, and just being scared that it's not going to feel as good the like next time that I play it, but hopefully it will. I really enjoyed my first play of it. Basically in this game, you are starting out with a hand of cards, and those cards are going to be different colors, and you're going to be playing out colors in order to build out these different tiles on this floor. Like I said, you're building out a floor in a beautiful cafe, And based off of the colors of cards that you play and the amount of cards that you play of that color, you're going to build the outside, and then the inner ring, and then the third inner ring, and then the innermost ring is like the table that you are building. And basically, the more that you go into the center, the more cards of that specific color is required to complete the floor. And then also, as you're playing these cards and building these different pieces of the floor, depending on the piece that you build, you're going to be able to then draw more cards. So you're trying to do this puzzle of building these different pieces of the floor and then drawing more cards in order to then build other pieces of the floor. And then obviously you're going to gain more cards based off of the difficulty, I guess, of the part of the floor that you are building. So if you do build like the table, you're going to be able to move your marker around this circle and pick up more cards. Whereas if you built the outer part, you're only going to be able to pick up one card of your choice of a different color than what you just built. So yeah, it's this very fun puzzle. I'm just a little bit scared that it's going to be very samey, but we will see with more plays of it. As of right now, it is my number 8, so I really enjoyed it, and we will see how it goes with more plays, but it is absolutely beautiful. It's very satisfying if you love puzzly games, if you enjoy Azul games and all of those different puzzly games. I do recommend checking it out. So that is Intarsia, or Intarsia. All right, moving on to my number 7. So this was a game that really surprised me. I had heard some like not great things about it. I also heard some great things about it. So I was kind of on this like weird in between of like not knowing what to expect, but I actually was very pleasantly surprised by this game. And the game that I'm talking about is Rock Hard 1977. So this is, I heard, a very thematic game, which I 100% agree with that. This is one of the most thematic games that I have played within the last year, and it was so much fun, and also, like I said, a very surprising game. From what I saw before playing this game, I really thought that it was going to be more simple than it actually was, and not as complex as it was. It is a fairly simple like worker placement game where you're building up your own band and you're going to different places in the morning, afternoon, and evening, or morning, evening, and night. And you have a job, and eventually you're going to quit your job in order to go full-time in the rock business. But it was actually very fun, and like I said, very thematic. You have the candy that you can use. The candy was a lot of fun, and the money and all that. I definitely think like it is a fantastic game, but I do think the theme of it really carries it, and the aesthetic and just like the feeling of the game is just really cool and very fun. And I do recommend, if you enjoy this kind of theme of building up a rock band and stuff, I really enjoy a game called Draft and Write Records, which kind of gives you that same theme of building up a band and going on tour and stuff like that. And this one gives you the same feeling, but with completely different mechanisms. So I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And that is why Rock Hard 1977 is my number 7. That's kind of funny. Moving on to number 6. This one was an interesting game that I was not expecting to play when I went to this game night, but my friend Aiden actually backed this game and it had arrived and he really wanted to play it. So we brought out a game called Bear Mountain Camping Adventure, which I did remember seeing when this game was up on crowdfunding, all of the different advertisements for this game, and it actually looked very fun. The kind of art and aesthetic of this game is super cool, and there are a ton of different variants for this game, which I think is awesome. But overall, it is a fairly simple game where basically you are doing some like double deck building, which is really cool. I really liked the premise of that, and the fact that like one deck is going to be giving you things that the other deck may not be, and if you're trying to focus on specific things, which deck you're going to be building up more. There's a blue deck and a green deck, and I ended up building up more of the green deck than I did the blue, which was really cool. And like you can still succeed in the game by not like building up both decks equally. You can kind of focus on one deck instead of the other one. But anyways, basically what you're doing in the game is you are getting these cards, and just like a deck builder, you're going to have a hand of card each turn, and those cards are going to give you different tokens that you are then going to have to give in order to go up this path of this, like, you know, camping area. with the mountain and stuff. But you're going to be going from camping area to camping area. It is actually a little bit of a race as well, because you're trying to be the first person to get to Bear Mountain. So I don't know who ended up winning this one, but it ended up being very fun and very enjoyable. And Aiden actually asked me after we finished the game if I wanted to buy it off of him, because I think he was expecting something more complex than it actually was. I said no, because I really don't need any more games in my collection. It was a lot of fun, and like sometimes I'm like, maybe I should buy it off of him, but I don't know. We'll see. It does have a lot of really fun additional like expansions / modules that you can bring into the game, and all of the cards were so cute. They're all like different camping activities. There were like kayaking and rock climbing and just a bunch of different things, roasting s'mores, going on a hike, all these fun things. So it was overall super fun, but yeah, it is very simple, not as complex of a game that I typically go for. So yeah, which, you know, honestly is good sometimes. But yeah, that is why Bear Mountain Camping Adventure was my number 6. All right, moving into my top 5 for the month of January. The first one is going to be a quick one for me to talk about, because I have already talked about this, I think, in my solo video, but my number 5 is Creature Caravan. So this one I absolutely loved solo. I chatted about this a little bit in my solo video, which I will hopefully put up here if I can remember. But I definitely didn't enjoy this as much multiplayer as I did solo, but I still really enjoyed it multiplayer as well. I think this might be my favorite Ryan Lockett Red Raven game currently. I haven't played like Above and Below and Near and Far in a while, and I've only played Now or Never once, and I remember really enjoying it, so maybe I should play that one again. But anyways, Creature Caravan is absolutely wonderful. It is a simultaneous game where you are getting these different cards, purchasing these different cards that are then going to allow you to have different worker placement spots, some different dice worker placement spots, and you're going to be using your dice every round in order to move your caravan, in order to gain more of these creature cards, in order to build out this tableau and gain victory points in different ways. And I just think it is a very fun game. It has a lot of things that I really enjoy in a game, which is tableau building, and also like not set, I guess a little bit of like set collection, because that's how you're going to be gaining points from all these different cards, and then also dice worker placement as well. I just absolutely love that. And then just like the theme of the game of traveling in your caravan and then collecting all of these fun little creatures to go into your caravan. I just think it is a lot of fun. So yeah, that is why Creature Caravan was my number 5. All right, and then moving into my last 4 games. These are all 4 games that I do not currently own a physical copy of. There are a few of them here that I probably will end up getting a copy of. I think there's one that I am getting sent a copy, and then my number 1, I think I might either reach out to the publisher or buy a copy for myself, because I really want to play that one solo, but we'll get to that. But my number 4 is actually a game that I have been meaning to play for a really long time. It's an older game, but the game is called Beyond the Sun. And the funny thing is that my friends have always chatted about playing this one, but to me, it looks just like a spreadsheet. The board for this game is just so unappealing to me, and it's so funny because everyone's like, oh well, Hadrian's Wall is a spreadsheet, but I don't know what the difference is. I think probably Beyond the Sun, it's like space themed. Beyond the Sun is actually a lot of fun. It is a worker placement game where you are building up and kind of going on this spreadsheet, obviously, and you're going from level to level, and you're building up and hopefully eventually getting to level 4. And I don't really know the thematics of the game, but you are collecting workers, and then also you have like coal, I think that's what it was, and you're using those different resources to put out your workers and build on these different ships and move your spaceships to different planets to take over those planets and then get that card. And then each of those planets are going to give you different rewards and sometimes like endgame stuff. There are different worker placement spots that'll give you like movement through planets and stuff like that in order to get a certain amount of your spaceships onto a planet, and then that will allow you to kind of take over that planet, and then you can take an action to actually get that planet. I forget what the actual word for it is, but you are then going to collect that card and get some sort of reward or end game scoring, like I said. But another part of the game, and probably one of my favorite parts of the game was the like growing different worker placement spots. So you started with level 1 and then you would additionally kind of explore these different areas, and then you would unlock these level 2, level 3, and level 4 worker placement spots. And in order to do that, you kind of had to follow this path in order for someone to unlock that specific spot. If you were the person to unlock that spot, you would get some sort of special thing. And then you, in order to use the different worker placement spots, you had to place a cube or a person onto that worker placement spot so that you could go and use that spot in a future turn or on a future turn. So really liked that part of the game, and just overall it was a game that like I've seen so many times and I was like, I'm not really super interested, but we ended up playing it and I really enjoyed it. So that is why Beyond the Sun is my number 4. All right, moving on to number 3. This is another space game that I was super excited to try because I've heard so many things about this game. It was a lot of people's favorite games of 2024, and that game is SETI Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, which I think going into like why I don't like space themes, I think I just don't like sci-fi. Is that the correct word for it? I don't love like, I don't know, Star Wars, Star Trek, that sort of thing. I don't love the like Star Wars and like fighting in space. I don't know. But I do really like the astrology, astronomy kind of part of space. I love the planets and exploring planets and stuff like that. In SETI, there's also aliens, which I think I'm okay with aliens. I actually kind of liked the aliens in SETI. Basically, each game of SETI, there's going to be 2 randomly selected kind of species of aliens that are unknown until all players kind of cooperatively have unlocked that specific alien, and then it flips over, and then that kind of gives you an additional little mini game that you can go and play, which I think is really cool. And probably one of the reasons why I really liked SETI is because I really like mini games. And each of those different aliens is then going to give you a different mini game that you can play. And I really enjoyed SETI. You are going and you are going to different planets and getting different bonuses from those planets. And it's really cool because there's this like moving galaxy solar system board where you can actually get like moved from the spot that you wanted to be in. So I think it's a really cool kind of decision space of like where you want to move on that solar system board, and make sure you move to a spot that if you do move, or if someone kind of progresses that or moves that solar system board, that you're not going to be moved from the path or bumped off of the path that you were hoping to be on. So really like that part. And then also there's just like so many different things. Honestly, I've only played it, like I said, once. Actually, I don't know if I said that or not, but I played it once and I really enjoyed it, and I do want to play it more. There's a lot going on in the game. It is a really big game. It was probably the heaviest game that I played this month, but overall I really enjoyed it. There is some really cool card play, and you also have this board that you're building out these different tiles that give you different abilities and different ways to do things. And then also, like I said, the cards are really cool as well, and I just cannot wait to play it. Again, I could probably, if I played it more recently, I could probably explain it a lot better, but yeah. All you guys need to know is that I really enjoyed it. It is quite the heavy game, but I think it's doing a lot of really cool stuff, and I can understand why it was some people's favorite game of 2024. So yeah, that is why my number 3 was SETI. Moving on to my number 2. This is the game that I think I might be getting sent by the publisher. I don't have it yet, so I can't show it to you guys, but it's a game that I've actually played quite a few times already, and I absolutely love. The game is Fromage, which I actually heard a lot of good things about Fromage, and a lot of people also spoke really highly of it, and it was a lot of people's favorites of 2024 as well. But Fromage is truly just a really great game and just sits in that perfect area that I have just figured out I absolutely love. It's that type of game that doesn't overstay its welcome, doesn't like break your brain in the way that you have to think and make decisions, but it still allows you to make some really fun and satisfying decisions. So it's just that great medium weight. Love it. Doesn't take very long because it is a simultaneous game where basically on your turn you have a like quarter of a circle board that you are going to be making cheese on, and each of those quarters are going to score in a different way based off of where you have your cheeses at the end of the game. And then also additionally, you can use one of your cheese workers to get some resources. There's going to be different like order cards that you can get that get you victory points if you can achieve them by the end of the game. You also have your livestock, which you can collect and use to add additional cheese to the board. You also have these different buildings that you can build kind of asymmetric abilities for, and then also you have your berries that you're going to be using to make berry cheese and jam cheese, which I think is very cool. Overall, it is just such an easy game to get into. I've taught this to so many people and I absolutely love it, and it's a game that I cannot wait to have physically. It's super, super fun, and also it does have a solo mode that I really want to try. So yeah, that is why Fromage is my number 2. All right, and moving on to my number 1 game. This is a game that I enjoyed so much that I think I might grab my own copy. This is a game that does have a solo mode, and it is a pretty big game, but I don't think it's overly big. The game that I'm talking about is Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age, which this game kind of reminded me a little bit of Coimbra, which is a game that I recently have just been loving. Coimbra I actually played quite a while ago, and then I recently played it again shortly after I actually played Minos, and I kind of saw the similarities between the two. And again, they both have like dice worker placement in a way, or like really cool ways of using dice, which I always enjoy games like that. But the way that Minos uses dice is just so cool to me. Basically, you are drafting a die of a specific color, and then you're going to be placing it onto different actions. And the color is going to determine going up on these different tracks. If you are able to get the sum of those colored dice to a certain amount, you're going to be able to go up on that specific track. That's then going to get you some specific bonuses or more and more income. But then also based off of where you put those dice on those actions, you have to activate the actions based off of the highest number to the lowest number. So it's this really cool thing of drafting dice, but then having to think about the color, the number, where you're placing them, what actions are going to be triggered at one time. And then there is, again, some really cool multi-use cards that you're going to be using, that you're going to be allowed to use for kind of one-time abilities, and then you can tuck them for different ongoing abilities. And I just think it is so, so cool, and just has some of the coolest and some of my favorite mechanisms in it. So yeah, there's additionally some like area majority in the middle, which I'm okay with. Like I've said many times, I'm good with area majority, not good with area control and conflict, which I think I'm okay with conflict now in most cases. But anyways, I'm gonna stop yapping. Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age is absolutely wonderful, and I will probably look into getting myself a copy of that one because it was very fun and I very much so enjoyed it. So that is my number 1 of January. I'll finish this video in a second. Francis just got home and my dogs are very excited. Alright friends, so that is going to be everything for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing all about my favorite games in January. If you did, please give this video a big thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Please leave any of your favorite games that you played in January down below in the comment section. I'd love to chat about that down there. But yeah, I love you guys so, so much. Remember, you are somebody's reason to smile. You're my reason to smile, and I will see you guys in the next board game video. Bye, friends!